All right, welcome back. Now I got the comments turned off for this one, just the type of mood that I was in. Plus, I always like to be careful with topics like this. I want to be respectful, okay? You don't have to worry about being disrespected when you come to this channel. I believe that people are quicker to be disrespectful towards black people. That includes black people. I believe there's this thing among black people to be quicker to be disrespectful towards other black people. And I also see this among other groups of the world. You don't have to worry about that here. Zero nonsense on this channel. And you see the title, how some FBA women learned to hate FBA men. And I said learned. I know some people are going to be like, you're making excuses. Oh, you're saying that they were taught and all this stuff. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Now, maybe there is no outside force that is currently forcing them to stay in that frame of mind. But definitely, it started from outside forces. That's the way it is with all groups. You don't find any groups that just out of nowhere, for no reason, starts to hate their counterpart or starts to hate themselves. I mean, let's not be ridiculous. If you're saying that black women gave themselves the problems that they have, whatever problems that black women have collectively that you see, you're saying that they self-developed them? No. Again, maybe they are failing to properly deal with it today in this era as an adult, of course. But it started from outside forces. And if that's not true, if I'm wrong about that, then what are you saying? What are you saying about black people in general? If that's not true. You're saying that black Americans or black people in general, you're saying that we just produce defective females? You're basically saying we're a defective race, a degenerate, subhuman race of people. If all the females that we produce somehow got brain damage, if all the females that comes from our race are self-hating, dislikes themselves, have insecurity issues. If you're saying that they just spontaneously became like that, then you're saying that we are indeed an inferior race of people. If our women are just naturally so despicable and intolerable that we don't even want to date them no more, then we are. Truly, everything they said about us being inferior was true all the while. Now, I don't believe that, but that's what you're saying. If you're saying there was no outside forces that had to do with black women's dysfunctional mentalities and behaviors. Now, all people got dysfunctions, all people got issues. We're talking about black women right now. Just like usually I'm talking about black people, I'm talking about everybody. People, I talk about problems, period. And we on black women right now, so I don't want to hear nothing. Outside forces. That was the cause. They're not naturally this way. If they are, then wow, what a discovery. We've truly found a dysfunctional, subhuman group of individuals. Now, I want y'all to listen to this. Yes, I brought some DD content in on this because I feel like this woman gave a good insight and a way to start this live stream off.
To say, and then we're going to respond.
Black men, I'm going to say it from me to you. This is just straight up. Black women, 80% of them, they don't like you. 80%, I am probably sure it's more. But at least 80% of black women in this day and age, it don't matter how old or young they are, they have a general dislike and hatred for you. That's your real climate, brother. See, I'm not telling you something that you ain't already felt. I'm telling you something that you...
Now listen. What's overwhelming, it's overwhelming how many black men relate to what she said. Immediately, like, yep. As soon as they heard it, yep, knew it all along, always felt it. It's one of those types of truths where people, as soon as they hear it, they're like, yep, that's true. Yep. They don't dispute it one bit. It's like, hey, you just said something that's always been on my mind, but I just never put it into words. Yep. Where does that come from? Is my question. That's what I want to deal with. That's what a lot of black men talk about. Where does this hatred come from?
No matter how old or young they are, they have a general dislike and hatred for you. That's your real climate, brother. See, I'm not telling you something that you ain't already felt. I'm telling you something that you know. I think it's more too. I truly think it's more too. I think it's more too. And I'm tired of being the one that's not talking about it. I've said this. This is one of the main reasons I don't have a lot of black female friends. I really don't, y'all. I don't. I couldn't imagine what it would be like as a black man to want to fuck these bitches, to want to wife them up and have babies.
All right, so what do you think about what she...
Oh my goodness. So yeah. Now I think it's pretty much universally agreed that there is some truth to that. Big question is, how much truth? How much truth is there? And why? What happened? Where does this hatred come from? And I'm talking about, it's a unique type of hatred that black females in general, as a collective, have for black men that can't, it's not matched by anything else, by any type of hatred that black men have for them. Now, for years, I have said that hatred comes from the experience of racism. And they have not evolved psychologically beyond or past racism as successfully as black males because they are females. Not because there's just something wrong with their genes. Not because black women are just genetically dysfunctional. It is because under the experience of racism, which includes slavery, Jim Crow, everything, because they're females, they sustained greater psychological damage. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. That's why there's this whole idea that you have to protect women. Protect women. Protect women. Because if their mind get hurt, if their psychology, their spirit gets hurt, man, that's the start of your extinction. If the mothers go, most likely that group is going to go extinct. They're on the path to extinction. If the mothers, if their head and spirit is intact, they can fix populations. Populations that are damaged and have problems. If the mothers, if their mind, body, and soul is in the right place, they can wipe out those problems. Also, fellas, we got to understand, and this is just the truth, they experienced a different type of racism. I know a lot of people talk about how both the male and the female was buck broken, but that's not what I'm saying. Even if you're talking about buck breaking, the males are going to accept that, interpret that, are going to process that experience much different from women, because women are engaged in something that they're designed naturally to engage in, where it's easier for the men to rebel and be against it. It's going to be a different type of opponent against it. Whereas with the females, they're actually tampering with something that's natural to them, and that is to be submissive to a man, to have relations with a man, to be under the rule, the guidance of men. That's why the slave experience had almost a completely different effect on black women than it had on black men. The males are always going to be more rebellious. I keep coming back to this because this is really a male and female thing. Black men, our women are not deranged or dysfunctional. There's not something, special or unique, deformed about them. They're not uniquely dumb or stupid. We're not genetically dysfunctional. We as black men don't produce genetically dysfunctional female offspring, and we gotta pump the brakes on that. They interpreted the experience completely different, in a way that made them more subjected or influenced by slave masters' ideas, perceptions of the world, perception of black men, of black people. Their inferiority will be greater absorbed when the female is broken. And then once that's done, she'll produce the type of slaves that the slave master wants. This was the whole idea, whole purpose behind, when there was a slave for the indoors, the house slaves, usually female. During slavery, they consciously knew that they wanted to do this, to make black women truly, genuinely feel like they're inferior and that they belong as slaves under white folk. On a conscious level, they wanted to embed this into their brains. And you know what? It affected them in a way that men probably can't fully understand. That's why I think we should show some level of understanding. You know what I'm saying? We got to be level-headed. We got to have balance. And definitely don't act the same way towards them that they act towards us. You got to understand, that whole process gave them a different spirit that they relate to, that they're on code with. Gave them a different spirit. And that spirit is more anti-black. Basically, the racist spirit, the demonic spirit of racism was instilled into them. And it had a stronger presence in them than it had in the rebellious male. That's why, hats off to our communities of the swamps, golden age in Black American history. So they're sustaining more damage. They're taking in dominance. They're more receptive to dominant males, where especially when they're demonstrating their dominance on this earth by slaughtering your men. That's the height of dominating. So you gonna believe that you're inferior, that your sons are inferior. We gotta look at the psychology that was being produced in black people in those days, in those eras, because we haven't snapped out of it. No, you're gonna believe that you're inferior and that your sons are born and destined to be our slaves. And you got mothers generation after generation passing this psychology to their offspring. And you got to understand that black females during this time were sort of broken. Right? They were broken. To the point where they started to feel like they are nothing but breeders. So why carry yourself with respect, like a wife, like a lady? You know, people point out the ratchet or promiscuous behavior with black women as if it's just something that occurs naturally in black women because black people are just a genetically deficient, dysfunctional race of people. It's a dysfunctional race. That's why their women are just naturally dysfunctional. No, they set up a whole system. This is why we need that check. As much as blacks have been dehumanized and we still dealing with the stuff that came out of that era. Yes, it came out that era. I don't want to hear nothing. It came out that era where they were made to be forced to exist like breeders. How can they appreciate motherhood if they never practice it? And this is going on for the entire duration of their life, generation after generation. Of course, today they're going to behave the way they do today. I don't think our experience is that complicated. And I don't like to see black men overreacting. You know, because, you know, that's just not a leader's mentality. What we need to do is understand them. And understand them in a way to rectify or deal with the problem. And this is what people do. There ain't nothing over the top about this. This is what people try to survive. First instinct is to survive. Our survival is being threatened. As a group, as black Americans, our survival is being seriously threatened. So we need to be talking about how to maintain our very existence. I'm not even talking about this generation. I'm dealing with the future generations. You know, if it's one way to be denied an afterlife, that is if you work against the eradication of the very group you belong to. Whether it be the human group, the gender group, or the racial group, the whatever. That can't be a good thing. It can't be looked upon favorably in the afterlife. If there is an afterlife, they're going to look at the fact that you promoted the extermination of the very group you belong to. No, so we in survival mode right now. And we can't survive if the mothers hate themselves. And that's what this boiled down to. Their experience, they were conditioned to truly hate themselves, which is possible. You can do that with any group of people. If you put them through the same experience, and these are lifelong experiences, keep that in mind. This is a massive human experiment on a massive scale, taking place generation after generation. You grab a population of white women, force them to keep their hair covered their whole life, broken, actually enslaved, and then force them to style black women's afros, style black women's locks and afro puffs and cornrows. In their whole life, you mean the entire duration of their life, they had to look at only black women looking beautiful. They looked down on their hair too. They looked down on their skin and everything too. What happened to us is the result of selective breeding, a massive experiment conducted on human beings. That's very serious. If you overlook that in any way, you're failing. Get out the leader's chair. Get out of here. This is very simple. Being a man is simple. It's understanding the world and taking the next proper steps. And you really got to have some value in what you are. Don't promote the extermination of yourself, you big dummy. Are you that heartbroken? And I understand, I don't want to disrespect, because I understand the disappointment that black men feel. They feel betrayed, stabbed in the back. And plus, you got to keep in mind, black men experienced successful rebellions against white ideologies over and over. The swamps, that was black men's thing. The Black is Beautiful movement, that was black men's thing, and it was successful. We still enjoy the benefits of those movements today. And we're doing the exact same type of self-hating stuff black women was doing as far as our hair is concerned. And we successfully came out of it. That's why it infuriates a lot of black men to look at them and still see that they're doing the same things that they was doing in the early 1900s and late 1800s. Still holding on to a culture that they were forced into under slavery and Jim Crow. Just on principle alone, they should have been left that whole lifestyle alone. That should not be a part of our culture no more at all. That's a disgraceful moment in history. Don't hold on to it like you proud of it. Hold on to it like you truly believe it. That's what it is. They were genuinely convinced that they were inferior when they were convinced that they were not as beautiful naturally as other women of the world. Deep stuff. Now, as you all know, I can never change my beliefs, and I haven't. My old SBW channel is still up, and I don't know the password. I can't even delete that channel. And I do not listen to the videos on that channel. I don't need to. I don't need to remind myself of everything I said. I know everything I said on that channel. And I'm just saying the same thing now with some additional growth in the picture. We're in survival mode. We ain't got time for heartaches and heartbreaks, no. And you know what? We don't even have time for the beautiful black queen and all that stupid gassing them up. No, it's time to be serious. We're in survival mode. This whole immigration thing, that's all about us. That's all about countering our growth and their own loss of the population. Now, of course, the everyday white person not involved in this, but the people who are empowered most definitely are. So many things about how this world works and operates is based on us and how we move in the world. Our survival being threatened. So this is a deep, sinister, insane system that teaches generations of people to hate themselves. Black men were so resentful to such living conditions, they immediately created their own communities. And shout out to the swamp communities. Black men have the most bad ass history you ever want to hear. They love talking about us as slaves and, oh, you were conquered. You're conquered. You're so conquered. Oh, you black men, you're conquered. You're so subordinate and weak. But yet, as soon as slavery started, there was a group of black men who said, you know what? We're going to set up shop right over here. And we dare you to do something. We didn't go to another country. We stayed right here in the United States. We're going to set up shop right over here. We're going to build our own community. We dare you to come in there and try anything. We better not find you in there at all. And we did this for hundreds of years. Do you know how powerful that is? Going up against a population of people with guns. We better respect that history. Because we was doing things in those swamps that we question if we're able to do today. They built real societies in those swamps. Communities, houses, cities, sewage system, plumbing. Most importantly, the men were the leaders of the society. So that true grit, manliness that we got, it was primarily cultivated there. There was always been two black Americas, a submissive and a rebellious. And that's the case with all groups. They play around with it. Democrats, Republicans. But they like to try to project us all as the whole submissive. Oh, massa, don't beat me. Oh, don't beat me, massa. Just want a butter biscuit. No. So we was doing our own thing. But here in the enslaved part of Black America, there was a lot of dysfunction going on. And it basically became the dominant mentality after integration and the swamp population mixed back in with the general population, right? We were still under the system, the same system that governed the enslaved Black America. That's why you really don't see that many swamp-minded Black Americans today. Which lets you know we always have done our best when we have been left alone, right? Even in integrated America, under Jim Crow, Black Americans did better. That's why I advocate for a Black America. We should have been demanding our own territory. We'll have a much better quality of existence. But because self-hatred is so rampant in our population, a lot of Black people don't even like the thought of it. What? You want us to separate? I don't know about that now. You know, they get to shaking. You know how them old Southerners, they get scared, they start trembling. I don't know about that now. Yeah. So, for generation after generation, all they've ever known, and understand, Black women were forced to live it out under slavery. All they've ever known was that Black is ugly. It should be hidden. It should not be seen. It's not true beauty. That's why they value when white men call them beautiful so much. Because they view white men as the group who created the standard of beauty. Of course, he made his counterpart the standard of beauty, but still, he's the one who created the standard of beauty. So if he calls me beautiful, that's far more valuable than if a Black man called me beautiful. Black men's supposed to call me beautiful. I look like him. So that don't mean nothing coming from Black men, but when a white man say that we're beautiful, oh my God. I knew it all along. I knew I was beautiful all along. You see, and that's why many of them sort of get off on the role play. You know, the role play in the bedroom. Because they view that as a time when white men gave in to the black woman's beauty. But still based in insecurities, which is horrible. I understand. It's a horrible, horrible reality. But I understand it. The only thing I don't like is seeing so many black men talking about it as if they just don't understand it. Now, I'm not saying it's supposed to make it any better just because you understand it. But if you don't understand it, you're more likely to believe that it comes from the fact that you're just black. In the black race, black people they don't produce normal women. All of their women are going to be dysfunctional because they're black. You know, I try to stay careful not to co-sign with nonsense like that too. And I think it's over the top ridiculous to make assumptions like that, to even come close. There ain't nothing wrong with black genetics. It's a shame we still got to argue this. And I'm arguing this with black people too. We don't have dysfunctional inferior genetics. Okay, I'm saying that to the people who saying that black women are just jacked up because they're just black. Yes, they got the hair, and listen, I mean, look at it. They're doing something no other group of women do. They're literally buying other women's whole entire head of hair. They're doing something just as far as being an example of self-hatred or expression of self-hatred. That's a bigger example than what you see from any other group of women. True. That is true. However, they went through something that no other group of women went through too. So it makes sense. No other group of women went through an existence like that conditioned whole generations of their people. That's extreme. And I think a lot of times black people underestimate, the impact of our history in general. We can't overlook stuff like that. The entire duration of your lifetime, that's a long time. And if you're forced to live out certain beliefs that whole time, and it's happening generation after generation, yeah. The generation that comes out of that is going to be a lot different than the one that went into it. I understand it. I think a big part of being a man is being able to figure things out. All black women need is to exist on this earth in a normal way. And that is to exist where their counterpart conditions society, establishes, builds, and maintains a world. As long as another group of men are doing that, you're going to see that reflected on your women. And that goes for all other groups. Asian men got to tolerate seeing a lot of European DNA on their women, and a lot of them object to it. Their comments are all over the internet as I speak. A lot of Asian men object to that. Like, ew, get out of here. Nasty blonde hair. And this blonde hair, and that looks so ridiculous. That blonde hair and weave. Like, who told you that looked good on you? It looked just fine on white women. But on you with your face, nah. It's not popping. That's the only, and the thing is, you still can't compare them, because at least with Asian people, they do have a home country where their image and identity is being projected in a positive light. And even then, it has a lean toward the lightest shades of their people. But with that, their men, for the most part, support that. As far as I'm aware, I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, I thought the men, non-black men and non-white men, like Asian men, that they also prefer lighter skinned women. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's any part of this world where, that's not the case, let me know. But it's the living conditions. That's just how I am. I reject any suggestion that black people are somehow dysfunctional just because we black. I think that's classic racist mentality. This should be common sense for everybody, if you ask me. That hatred they have for black men is unique. Let's admit that. It's a hatred that the men don't have for the women. It is not comparable. You heard one. Let's listen to another.
Pink women don't do that to their men. As much as they be violated by their dad, be having all type of absentee dads, the fact that studies, because y'all love to quote fake statistics, let's quote the real ones. The fact that studies have shown year after year that black men are the most present dad, and yet black women are the ones who seem to be so traumatized to where now they hate all black men.
Quick to believe the stereotype. Females are simply more receptive to stereotypes, negative stereotypes about black men, because racism in general had a heavier impact on their psyche because they're females. It's really that simple. You know what I'm going to do towards the tail end of this live stream? I am going to enable live chats. How about that? I've enabled the chat room. Voila. Just in case anybody got anything to say. I just wanted to make sure I was heard. Let's finish this.
But all the disgusting, wretched things that pink women have experienced from their fathers does not make them hate their race of man as a whole. It make they hate their daddy, but it does not make them hate their race as a whole.
Don't that sound familiar though? To hate the whole race as a whole? Where'd they get that from? Black women, through the generations, has simply been more receptive to racism. Racism is basically a mentality that comes from white males, a bunch of sick white males. It's not really, as far as I'm aware, it's not really a white female thing. It's just something that white women, accepted, as power come along to it. But it's power oriented. That originated with the sick portion of white males. But regardless, women in general are more receptive to men who exercise power in the world. And that's a natural thing for them to do. So basically, black women have been manipulated. Their nature, how they are naturally, has been manipulated by another group of people. So I'm putting this out there just as my 2 cents. I'm not trying to put the cape on, but listen, make no mistake. An on-code FBA female, why wouldn't you wife her? If her head is together, what else is there wrong with her? I know a lot of black men feel like, they don't exist. There's some black men who feel like they just don't exist. Maybe they don't exist. But if I find them, I'm going to try my best. to scoop them up. That's just call it my religious belief. I believe in the afterlife and all that stuff. And I think a requirement to enjoy any type of afterlife requires that you appreciate your current life. You can't appreciate your life if you refuse to produce what you are. Like if you just flat out refuse, like no, I would imagine whoever created me is not going to look favorably upon that. It's like, hey, I made you that way. Why didn't you feel like you should make your kid that way? It's like, it's not only that. It's a natural thing. Asian women generally prefer Asian men. White women prefer white men. It's because relationships involved a like culture. That's part of what strengthens your bond. Got nothing to do with nothing crazy. That's a normal way to exist on the world. It's normal to want your counterpart, to want to, marry and have a family with your natural counterpart. I'm normal. I'm not about to be on this, don't date any of them, don't marry any. No. I'm not that distraught. And I don't, because that sounds disrespectful, but to me, it comes off as the men who are like really, 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 really heartbroken about the whole thing. Seeing your group of women, especially stuff we've been through, all the praise black men over the generations have heaped upon them, and they feel just betrayed. Like, oh man, it don't get no worse than this. Listen, I cannot object to black men like that. I honestly couldn't criticize those black males even if I tried. Because to be honest, they got justified reasons to feel like there's none out there. Even though I think that's unrealistic, I get it. So I'm not throwing out any criticism. I'm just saying I'm not that way. I think I got a lot of respect for the diversity of people. Like people in general. Like people are so different. And there's always those different types of people. There's always those different types of people. And if they exist with males, how could they not exist with females? Granted, it might not be manifested as clear or as strong as it is with the males, but again, maybe it can't. There is differences with gender. We're not dysfunctional. Nothing that you see going on with black males or black females is abnormal. It's simply a reflection of your experience. That's just something we got to accept as human beings. Much of our current behavior is based on what our ancestors went through as a group. Because what we went through as a group affected what we went through as a family. Trickled down to the individual. You can never escape what your group goes through, your group mentality. We all belong to a group. And those groups have a history. And that history, it always going to shape the personality, the character of individuals on individual levels. Okay? I'm just saying, this whole idea that the, black women are just naturally dysfunctional, it's kind of racist. And, if you're a real proud black man, I don't see how you're comfortable with that. Spewing like racist rhetoric, because what else does it say? It says you are dysfunctional too, because we're not totally separate from black women. If black, Lord, why are we having this discussion? If they're just naturally dysfunctional, we have to be as well in some way. So why would other groups of women want to copulate with us? If All the females we produce is dysfunctional. They don't even want no half dysfunctional offspring. Why would any other group of women want to copulate with us if we just naturally produce? It's not beneficial. It's not in our best interest as black men to promote this idea that black women are just screwed up in the head because they black women. That's all I'm saying. Fellas, I got a lot more respect and confident in black men's intelligence than that. Okay, they out there. You can still listen. I'm not trying to coach you or persuade anybody to date black women. But if you such a champion for black men and you see black men as your brothers and there's this brotherhood, why would you promote their eradication? Why would you promote their extermination? If you value black men so much, why would you support the erasing of them? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. I'm all about making sense. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. Drop your thoughts. I will see you on the next.